Show here on SBR. I'm Blackjack Fletcher. That handsome man is Junior Browne. Junior, we're without our guy Jay Money again today as he continues to deal with lack of power down there in Texas. Obviously, we hope him and the family doing okay, and they can get this back up and running again soon. Man, we need him back.
Yeah, a lot of guns in Texas. Clearly, not a lot of snowplows. No, I'm kidding. And listen, hopefully Jay's okay. Being without power for over 24 hours is something that I've been through once or twice. I was in a really bad snowstorm once, and we didn't have power for like a week. It gets kind of crazy because the inside of your house starts getting real cold. So hopefully our guy Jay Money is good, and he'll be back soon.
That's it. So obviously best to them and everyone else dealing with all this weather around the country. Junior and I are not. We're down in sunny Florida, so everyone else can kind of suck it. But
how'd you do last night, Blackjack?
Very well, 4-1, which is shocking, Junior, because I was sitting here looking at these bets afterwards, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I need to do some evaluating here because these are not things you want to see showing up on the My Bets page, okay? But 4-1, can't complain. How did you do?
I went 3-0 yesterday. Always good to get off to a strong start. Just looking to keep going. You know how it is, peaks and valleys. So let's just try to keep it rolling. Ready whenever you are, my guy.
Absolutely. Let's do it. We got more wins today. We get some interesting games on the slate today. We're going to get to them. Let's jump right in. Obviously, Spurs and Pistons. That game is not going to be taking place today, postponed. So let's just get it right out of here and move on to the second one. Nothing like having a canceled game right at the top there. Nuggets Celtics. This is going to be a good one. This is an interesting one for us to talk about. Denver visits Boston here. Boston now a 2.5-point favorite, opened at 3. I think, Junior, that a lot of people's inclination right off the bat is going to be Denver, but it is worth noting that Denver is going to be without Monte Morris, Paul Millsap, Will Barton, Gary Harris. So how do the injuries that the Nuggets have here factor into your looking at this game?
It kind of makes it a pass because when I saw the original line, I was like, "Oh, I'm going Denver money line." That was my initial thought as soon as I saw it. But then, as you just mentioned, with all of those bodies missing, listen, I use this term a lot. Denver is a by committee team. I understand that Nikola Jokic has played himself into a top 10 NBA player with the stats that he puts up, but he's not a guy that tends to, go on scoring binges, and Jamal Murray is one of the more inconsistent players. So because they're a by committee team, when you start taking out large members of that committee, can't really bet on them. So this game's kind of a pass for me because of that reason.
I agree with what you're saying. I am still going to take Denver here. I'm going to take them plus the 2.5 points. I think that Daniel Theis being out for Boston is actually something that is going to loom a little larger than some people may think. We know Daniel Theis isn't, generally a huge game changer, but he's an effective player, and he would have made life more difficult for Jokic down low. I think without Theis, Jokic is kind of going to be able to get what he wants in this game. The fact of the matter is they're missing a lot of bodies, but they still have Jamal Murray and they still have Nikola Jokic, and I'm going to bank on those guys being able to at least keep this game within one possession, if not win it outright. I mean, am I crazy for just looking at the two of them here, Junior?
No, I actually agree with what you're saying. You're almost convincing me, to be honest. I saw Daniel Theis leave with that injury, and obviously this is a team that's short on big men. The other dude, the guy with the dreads, I forget his name right now. Robert Williams, is it? Anyways,
Yep.
Whatever his name is, he's decent, but to slow down Jokic, they're going to need all of their big men. So for me, maybe I'll live bet it, but pregame, I have nothing on this.
I like it. All right. Let's move on to another one that I think is going to be real interesting. We've got the New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies going at it. Obviously, your top two draft picks from a couple of years ago going head-to-head here, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant. This is a weird one, Junior. This game's at a pick'em right now. New Orleans has been as inconsistent as humanly possible this year. They finally got on a little bit of a hot streak, and it looked like maybe they were turning a corner, and then what do? They come out and they drop 3 in a row. Memphis is a walking mash unit with the injuries that they've got going on here. When you look at this game, it's a pick'em. I've got a slight lean to New Orleans. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, but what do you see here?
What I see is everything you just described, and it's a line that I use a lot on this show. I have more questions than answers about this game, and when I have more questions than answers, I can't possibly bet on it. I would lean New Orleans because they're the better team with more reliable scoring options. Only advantage that I see. I believe it's a true 50-50 game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's that way too. I think the line obviously reflects that. The total even at 231.5. Like when I saw that, Junior, my first instinct is, oh, Memphis in a game with 231.5, I should play this under. And then I dug into it a little bit. And as much as we've talked about the Grizzlies defense, they've been hanging some big overs on the board lately. And we all know the Pelicans don't really play defense. So I don't know that there's an edge anywhere in this game.
Really isn't. Like I always say, dude, if you're betting on this game, you must know something I don't, and I'd love to hear what it is you know, because I don't know enough to invest my money in this game. It's a coin flip, and I don't invest in coin flips.
I'm with you there. All right, let's keep it rolling. We've got the Toronto Raptors visiting the Milwaukee Bucks in this one. I'm looking forward to this game, Junior. Milwaukee, a home favorite here. They're laying 6 to the Raptors. We talk about inconsistency with teams. Toronto, it felt like for a minute Toronto kind of figured it out and was riding the ship, starting to play better defense. And then they go out and they lose to Boston, which, okay, maybe you understand even though they lost by 14. But then they lose to the Timberwolves outright, and that one's tough to explain. Milwaukee, though, on the other hand, is in the middle of, I'm not going to call it a tailspin because they're a very good team, but this is probably going to be the worst stretch of their season for them, with losing 3 in a row here to Phoenix, Utah, and Oklahoma City. Which one of these teams is coming into this game more desperate, Junior, and how do you see it with the 6-point number?
I can't bet on the full game. I think I see a lot of 5.5s on the board right now. I'm actually going Milwaukee first half here. The spot is this is like one of those spots where usually, after a long 6-game road trip, the first game back home is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A sleeper or a
sleepy.
Yeah, it's a sleepy spot. You're back home cooking. You've seen the wife. You play with the kids. The wife's like, listen, I've been running all the errands. You get off your ass and go do something. The dynamic is, it's all over the place. In this specific spot, though, Milwaukee needs wins. Milwaukee's lost 3 games in a row. And they had a really weird road trip, right? The road trip started off in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Then they had to slowly go out west. Started getting their asses kicked. And by the way, the fact that they started losing games when Jrue Holiday went out due to health and safety protocols, that's no coincidence. I think tonight, this is a rivalry game. Yeah, they only had one playoff series that made it a rivalry, but let's just be honest. If Giannis and the Bucks beat the Raptors, do they not then go on to beat the Warriors probably in that series? So if there's any team in the world that the Milwaukee Bucks cannot stand, it has to be the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are obviously not a championship team anymore. They might not even be a playoff team. If the Milwaukee Bucks can get right by kicking the Raptors while they're down, I see them being very, very motivated in this spot. I'm taking the Bucks first half official play.
Ooh, I like that. What do you think about Jrue Holiday? You think he's back here?
It's fun. So say that again.
Do you think Jrue Holiday's back here?
I don't believe so, but I'm playing this regardless of that factor. Listen, I just watched the Raptors last game where they lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Raptors have problems. Unless they're shooting at a high percentage, their defense is no longer what it once was, right? We say a 5-game sample size is a lot, a 10-game sample size. Okay, well, we had like 25 games where the Raptors are a middle-of-the-pack defense. The only reason that the Raptors have been a playoff team for the last 7 or 8 years in a row is because they're consistently a top 5 defense. Until they crack the top 10 in defense, they are not a playoff team. It's that simple. So if I can get a one-possession spread with Milwaukee, one of the better home teams, especially in the first half against a mediocre defense that's having trouble scoring, I gotta roll with the Bucks in a one-possession situation.
Yeah, I like where you're going there, Junior. For me, it's going to be a pass right now, simply because I don't know what's going on with the Bucks. I mean, we've been talking about it now for a few weeks here on the show, and it's just been hard to trust them too. Like, yeah, they should come in this spot, and they should kick the hell out of the Raptors. I mean, they really should. But I don't know that I trust them to do that. I don't know. Milwaukee, to me, has just been a very poor team to bet on this year as a favorite.
I agree with you. And I've definitely, anyone who's watched the show for the last 2 seasons will know that I've definitely cooled way off with the Milwaukee plays. Milwaukee first half, Miami first half, those were by far and away the 2 plays that cashed the most for me. I've barely played any Milwaukee first halves or full games for that matter, and I'm completely off Miami until further notice. So maybe I am a little biased in the situation. I'm going back to the well for something that's cashed for me so well. But I just think the spot also aligns in the sense that they've lost 3 in a row. They can't be losing games in the Eastern Conference. They've got to get things rolling again until Drew comes back.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to pass on this, but I do like your first half play. I mean, Milwaukee should come out looking to get something done here. So, all right, let's move on. We've got the Los Angeles Lakers visiting the Minnesota Timberwolves here. Anthony Davis, the news came out that he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. I wish Jay was here so he could finally celebrate the fact that the Lakers injury report gets a little clearer now with Anthony Davis being ruled out. The Lakers visiting the Timberwolves, though, right now the line's at 6.5 or so. LA is favored. The Lakers have been very good on the road, Junior. There's no doubt about it. But against the number, they haven't been quite as good. They're 12-3 straight up, 8-7 against the number on the road. The Timberwolves have not been awful as a home dog. I'm this close to pulling the trigger on the Timberwolves plus the points. I mean, tell me which way I should do this.
I'm actually looking at the Lakers here. The only reason I'm not going to bet it is because the roster turnover for the Lakers allowed them to make an actually pretty smooth transition from the guys they had last year to this year. Obviously, it helps to have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA on your team. When you take away one of those guys, you're changing the whole dynamic of how this team works. Other guys are going to have to play more minutes, take more shots, step up into bigger roles. I kind of don't really know what that means. I know that LeBron is having one of his best seasons in year 18, which, unless you're an idiot, that has to be mad suspicious. But I don't want to get into the whole LeBron steroid thing. But yeah, is LeBron now going to take another step up and basically – because listen, if LeBron can carry them while Anthony Davis is out, you have to make him MVP of the league. I mean, I don't know. I hear MVP talk for a lot of other guys, but LeBron is balling. Like he's not missing games. He's showing up when he needs to show up, and if he brings them through this stretch, I'm no LeBron fan, but you just gotta say he's the most valuable player in the league. So I'm actually gonna live bet this game most likely because for one very specific reason, Blackjack. The Lakers are notoriously slow starters. If they get off to a slow start in this game, I might get a really juicy live line. So my lean is the Lakers, especially if the number, because I see a 6 on the board, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
If it's like 6 or 5.5, I'm all over the Lakers. At this current number, I'm staying away.
I'm taking the 6.5. with the Timberwolves. I can't help it. I think Towns is going to have a big night against the Lakers here. I think that Minnesota will do enough to stay close. When you look at the Lakers and how they've played without AD, LeBron, as you said, LeBron is what he is, and he's going to win most of these games regardless. But the margins, I don't think, are going to be there the way they are when Anthony Davis is in the lineup. So I'm gonna hold my nose and take the Timberwolves here plus 6.5.
Good luck to you, my brother.
I really hate myself a little bit.
You just need a little bit more of that.
Junior, there are some bets that you make, and the second that you punch that ticket, that no matter whether you win or lose, you're going to hate yourself a little bit at the end of the night. And this is exactly one of those bets.
I feel you. I feel you on that one.
All right, let's keep it moving. We've got the Portland Trail Blazers visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder in this one. This is going to be an interesting one, right, Junior? Because we've got the Blazers who are still dealing with, injury issues here. C.J. McCollum out. Rodney Hood in this game is going to be out. But OKC's got issues of their own, right? Still no SGA in this game. Obviously George Hill is gone. Can Portland score enough with what they've got to cover this number, which right now is sitting at 5.5 points?
I guess so. In theory, listen, I've made it no secret that I am not a believer in this Portland team. I think that they're as soft as a fresh pack of marshmallows. So I'm not betting on this. But listen, at the exact same time, I'm not going to disrespect them and say they can't cover this number. Oklahoma City without SGA, what are they even like? If you can't cover this number, I'm gonna be not that anybody cares, but I'm gonna be slandering the hell out of Portland tomorrow, because these are the type of games that they absolutely have to win. They're actually having a pretty good season. If it wasn't for the fact that the Jazz have been going nuts, they would actually be within striking distance of the lead in their division. They're definitely in the playoff picture in the conference, despite the injury to C.J. McCollum. So I'll try to show them a bit more respect by saying they've actually played pretty well despite their adversity. But this would be a type of spot where they absolutely should cover, and then they break your heart, which is why they piss me off.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because they've won 4 in a row now. And let's be honest. The win against Philadelphia and Dallas, those were nice wins for this team without C.J. McCollum, without Nurkic. Those are quality wins. And now you're going up against an OKC team who, I have a hard time imagining that Oklahoma City has a ton left in the gas tank right now, Junior. They played 2 overtime games against the Lakers, lost them both. They played a nail-biter against Denver right after that, lost that. Then somehow they muster the energy to beat the Bucks outright. And now they've got to deal with a Portland team who, compared to those teams, should be an easier battle. But whenever you've got Damian Lillard lining up on the other side and they're hot and they've got momentum, I don't know. This to me feels like a spot where OKC could be really flat. No?
Yeah, so listen, Blackjack, you actually broke this down much better than I just did. It's the win against Milwaukee is what gives me pause for just blindly saying, oh, well, Portland's going to come in here and take care of business. Well, I'm sure Milwaukee thought the same thing on Sunday. They absolutely didn't, right? And that win was not a fluke for anyone who did not watch that game. OKC was kicking their ass in the first half. The Bucks made a comeback, in the third quarter, and then OKC put them away at the end of the game. So there's nothing lucky about that win, and they kind of showed me that. Heart means it doesn't mean as much as talent, but in this league where effort is not always guaranteed, if I know that there's a team that's always going to give you 100% every single time they step on the floor, I'm afraid to blindly lay points on the road versus that team. It's just that simple. So I'm either taking the points with OKC or I'm not touching this.
I've talked myself into Portland, so I'm going to lay the 5.5 with the Blazers. I don't know. I just think that, to give kind of a horse racing analogy, sometimes when a horse runs like their best race, the next one is a little bit of a bounce, right? Like you're just due for a little bit of a letdown. It feels like Oklahoma City played their best game against Milwaukee, and now maybe we get the bounce against Portland.
Good luck to you, my brother. Good luck is the only thing I can say.
All right, let's move on to a game that I am supremely interested in talking about, Junior. Your Brooklyn Nets visit the Phoenix Suns tonight. Obviously, there is no Kevin Durant in this game, but this line, Junior, has gone absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, this thing opened up at Phoenix, being a reasonable 2-point favorite at home. It is now 5.5. My lean in this game was to Phoenix. I can't lay 5.5 with the Suns, though, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel bad because I'm making this an official play, even though the line that I got it at is very different than what's available. Hopefully, anyone watching took Phoenix early, because the -3 that I got was only available for maybe like an hour and change, and then it got bet up real big. I wish I would have seen it last night at -2, but I was occupied, to say the least. But yeah, I'm on Phoenix -3. 5.5. I personally would not lay that. Now you're starting to get into, like, if you like Phoenix, this is the most you can lay, in my opinion. Obviously, you guys are free to do whatever you want with your money. These are free picks, so this is just advice that we're giving out. But I just think that when you're talking about Phoenix now beating these guys by more than 2 possessions, that they should be able to. But Kyrie showed you last night, he's liable to go off for 40 at any given moment. Harden still hasn't, gotten it clicking offensively the way that you would think, but he's also shown us that he's actually willing to be a facilitator. That combined with the fact that Kevin Durant is out, probably, right, unless I'm mistaken.
No, he's out.
Because he has a hamstring issue, so he's probably not going to play today, even though he sat out yesterday. If you look at the makeup of Phoenix's lineup, they got a lot of bodies that are in that Kevin Durant mold. These 6'8", 6'9" guys with long-ass arms that can shoot threes and switch and defend. Without Kevin Durant there to occupy those guys' effort defensively, they could have a big game offensively, which you have mentioned many times, Blackjack. Anybody can have a big game offensively against this Suns team. Durant is a body that they need in this specific game because of the specific matchup issues. I really like Phoenix. I wouldn't be surprised that they win by margin, but 5.5 is pretty rich, though.
It's a lot, right? I mean, it's a lot for a team with Kyrie Irving and James Harden. And listen, you know how I feel about the Nets, but 5.5 feels like too many. Let's talk about the total for a minute, Junior, because we've talked, plenty of times about this Brooklyn over, machine that they've built here. It's 231 right now. I'm a little hesitant, actually, after saying about how confident I feel in betting Brooklyn overs. I'm a little hesitant because Phoenix plays defense. I mean, the Suns play, I think they're the 6th ranked defense in the NBA right now. You have any look on this total at 231?
I'm going to say over, actually. And I'm going to say over because before their last game against Orlando, the Suns are dropping like 120 pretty regularly. They dropped $120 on Philly, $125 on Milwaukee, and $119 on the Cavs, who've regressed significantly defensively from what they were in the beginning of the season, but still play some level of defense. They're still competent defensively. So Phoenix is kind of clicking offensively. And, the Nets are averaging, 135 points a game in their last 2 games. I actually think that if the only way the Nets can win this game is to try and push the pace. I expect them to score about $125, and I expect them to lose. So I actually would take – I'm actually taking the over. It's not an official play. That's just my lean because you asked me the question.
I'm with you. I think I lean that way too. There's just something that feels a little off about it to me. I don't know. I got a little queasy feeling in my stomach about this one. Junior, before we wrap up, I want to ask you, we've had some developments in the NBA over the last day or so. The Cavaliers say they're going to sit Andre Drummond until they figure out what to do with him. Draymond Green popping off about it. And now this Blake Griffin stuff, right? Blake Griffin and the Pistons sounds like they're going to try to work out a trade or maybe more likely a buyout. What are your thoughts on what's going on with Blake Griffin in Detroit?
I think it's the move that makes sense for both parties. Let's just be real, okay? And I'm not even trying to be funny here. Blake Griffin started off his career in LA. Blake Griffin benefited financially a great deal from being in Los Angeles. He's done commercials. He does stand-up comedy on the side. He's actually a pretty funny guy. He does a lot of social media stuff. Then he gets shipped to freezing-ass Detroit, which I don't want to shit on Detroit, but as someone who grew up just a few hours north of there, and I've been there quite a few times, it's a bit of a struggling city, as Draymond Green will very well know. So I think that he just probably never wanted to be in Detroit. Detroit can't possibly win with him as their best player. I think that Detroit's head coach made a very, very slick move by saying, hey, listen, I'm going to make it so clear to Blake Griffin that he has no future here that I'm going to turn over the team to Jeremy Grant. Listen, Jeremy Grant's the star of that team. He takes all the shots. He's their crunch time guy, and he's actually produced. But if you're Blake Griffin, are you just accepting that Jeremy Grant, you play second fiddle to Jeremy Grant, regardless of, the reality of the situation that you are no longer a top tier player in the NBA? And the answer to that question is most likely no. So you got a city he doesn't want to be in, a team he doesn't want to play on, a head coach you know for sure. Dwayne Casey makes you work your ass off. I'm not saying Blake Griffin doesn't work his ass off, but it just doesn't seem like an ideal situation for him. He's at the phase of his career where he needs to go to a contender and be like their fourth best player or the sixth man on a contending team. He's not an elite player anymore. He hasn't been for quite some time. I think he's got to go. I don't mean to be long-winded, Blackjack, but just to answer what Draymond Green said, I agree with what he's saying, but it's business, right? The boss makes the rules. The owners are the bosses. They don't want you talking bad about the franchises, and it makes sense, right? If you have a situation where the players are bad-mouthing the franchises, how are fans supposed to feel about that? I feel like it would turn fans off. So even though I think Draymond Green is right to some extent, what the Players Association needs to do is speak to the league and try to figure out a way to appease both sides so they're not embarrassing players but still able to conduct business as usual. Because if I don't want you on my team, you should stay the F home. Honestly, I don't see a problem with it.
Do you think that Blake Griffin, somebody will trade for him, or do you think this is a buyout situation? Because he's got a big contract.
Yeah, his contract is stupid, is what it is. They're probably going to have to buy him. Listen, the Detroit Pistons are getting into some dangerous territory where they've been mismanaged now for going on a decade. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what needs to be done there. They just built a brand new arena that nobody goes to. They seem like they're bleeding money right now. So now they got to pay out Blake Griffin. I mean, Jesus, man. This team is in some serious, serious trouble for the foreseeable future. I don't see how they dig themselves out of this hole.
Yeah, it's going to be tough up there in Detroit. Tough sledding for a while. All right, let's go with our picks here. I've got Denver plus 2.5. I've got Portland minus 5.5, and the Minnesota Timberwolves plus 6.5. Junior, what do you got?
I got the Bucks first half, and I've got Phoenix full game. I feel bad giving out this line because, like I said, the -3 is obviously not available anymore. But if you do like Milwaukee, I would definitely suggest taking them in the first half. That full game spread seems a bit rich for a team on a 3-game losing streak playing against a desperate opponent. If you get them in the first half, it's a one-possession situation. and Milwaukee, for all their inconsistencies this year, are still one of the better first half teams in the NBA.
All right. Those are our plays for the day. Everybody, thank you for watching. Junior, thank you for being here. Hopefully we can get J Money back tomorrow. Make sure everybody visits sbrpicks.com/NBA for all of our NBA content. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern with more NBA for you. Let's cash some tickets.